The Drazzy Show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Drazzy Show. My name's Drazzy, and today I have another special guest. I have a young lady that goes by the name of Maeve. Maeve, how are you?
I'm so well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I just need you guys to understand. If you see me look towards my right, it's because I had nowhere else to put the Zoom call camera. So I'm looking at Maeve on my right. So guys, don't think I'm being unprofessional here. I'm just working with what I got. But anyway, Maeve, I'm glad that you've joined me today. And could you please tell the people who you are and, basically why you're here today?
Absolutely. So hi everybody, my name's Maeve Moon. I run the Profit from Trauma Instagram and my TikTok channel, which is my biggest platform. I'm an ex-sex worker and trauma-informed coach. And I've recently transitioned into this actually, which is my new studio. I'm a massage therapist and coach. So I'm super excited about this little backdrop. And so at the moment I'm still doing my life coaching, I'm doing massage, and I'm specialising in addiction this year. But today we are here to talk about, I'm assuming, my life story and kind of what I've come to know about the world, being that I was in the adult industry for a period of time.
Yeah. I wanted to start off by asking, how old were you when you got into the adult industry and what drew you to that world?
So I literally just turned 20.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a boyfriend, and I knew about seeking arrangements. I don't know if you've heard about that.
What's that? Sleeping arrangements?
Seeking arrangements.
Seeking arrangements. No,
a sugar daddy website.
Okay.
You.
And how old were you when you were on that website, by the way? Sorry, how old were you when you were on that website?
I actually joined that website when I was 16.
Wow. Okay, please carry on. Let me not stop you. Carry on.
Yeah, but you had to be 18 in order to meet people. So I also thought when I was 16, I was living in a shelter at the time. I thought, one, I'm like, this is not an attractive quality living in a homeless shelter. Two, I'm overweight. And three, I'm 16. So it's not going to cut it right now. It's actually my father that recommended that I look into escorting. At the time, I didn't really know what that entailed, but he did.
Hold on.
But that's by the by.
Your father recommended that you get into escorting?
Yeah. When I was younger, when I was like 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
So it stuck in my brain, like it planted a seed in my mind. And I thought, well, I'm going to do that then. I'm going to do that when I'm older. If that's the way to make money, if I can make money just from smiling and being pretty and going to business dinners, that's what I thought escorting was, by the way, escorting people around. So naive. I thought, if that's the way to make money and I can just make money from being a woman, and obviously I'm going to do that. And by the time I turned 19, 20, I'd lost all of that weight. I'd relapsed into an eating disorder, so I was deeply in like anorexia. So I was really thin. I was smoking a lot of weed. So when I broke up with my boyfriend, I thought, perfect. I'm over 18, and I'm thin, and I'm no longer living in a homeless shelter. I've got the 3 basic needs to become a sugar baby. And I did it, and I just went straight into it. Within 2 weeks of that relationship ending, I was already on seeking arrangements. I'd set up a profile with another girl, so we had a duo sugar baby profile.
Wow.
And we went straight in there. We just went straight in.
Wow, that is so interesting. At that age, obviously, you were over 18, so let's say about just towards 19, or you were 19?
I was 19, so I was literally just turned 20 when I started doing this. Yeah.
Wow, that is so interesting. Now, I wanted to ask, your father, how do you feel about your father recommending that to you at 14?
Yeah, people ask me that. I don't know how. I think I've never held him accountable for saying that. But the thing is, though, is that I never really had a relationship with my dad. I stopped seeing him. Well, he stopped seeing me when I was 5. I got back in touch with him when I was 11, 12. I said I wanted to have a relationship. And we met like once a year, twice a year, just went for coffee. And it wasn't like, oh, this was my father, my father figure that recommended I go into escorting and sell my body for money. To me, this is just like some dude that is my dad, but he's just kind of like a mate, and I didn't really know him. And he doesn't really claim me as his daughter. He passed me over to God. He's a Bible, which is I think even funnier. He's a Bible teacher and a man of. He's what do you call people that do things for God?
A man of God.
He's a man of God. So he passed me over to God when I was a baby and said that like this is your child, God. So I don't think he has that responsibility feeling over me, actually.
Wow, but I mean, looking back now as a mature woman, do you feel like there was something wrong with him? Because if he's a man of God, right, he's going to want the best for himself and the best for his offspring, right? And you're his daughter. And at 14 to recommend for you to get into escorting, don't you feel like that's not what God would want a human being to tell another human being, especially their own child?
Yeah, I think now it's interesting because it's not that I've absolved him of his responsibility as a father, but that is a weird thing. It's very strange. It's a very strange thing to say to your daughter. I wouldn't say it to anybody. As a woman who's even been through it, I would still play caution for anybody. Even if somebody in their like late 30s came to me and said, I'm, grown. Yeah. I'm thinking of coming and starting being a sugar baby. What do you think? I'd be like, well, you are smart enough and old enough to think about this properly. I still wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, of course. Wow. So what's your relationship? What's your relationship now with your father? Is it still similar where he's just on his own course and you're on your own course and that's it?
Yeah, I've not seen him for at least 2 years now. He sends me a good night text every night, sent me some money for Christmas. That's really it. Like I think we've had one phone call this year. It's not that we don't have a bad relationship. Yeah. We just don't have a relationship.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. I've I've never come across that before. I mean, obviously I see these things in documentaries and I hear about these things, people who've been down similar paths to you. You can tell it's always like something which they weren't guarded. Their parents didn't guard them from, or their parents weren't that influential in their life, their younger years. But for someone to actually recommend it, I know people who try to drag their children away from it because they've not been that influential, and they find out later on, like, okay, let me try and, have some kind of input in my child's life now. But to actually push someone into that lifestyle, that's very interesting. But I respect the fact that you can look back now, see that, and you use that as part of your strength now to know, okay, you know what? I could have had a different course if I not listened to this person. So do you feel like your father is to blame, or do you blame yourself?
Definitely, I don't hold anybody to blame for my personal actions in life, and I could look at both of my parents, and I can find fault with them both in this regard, because my mum was also a police officer, so it was a man of God and a police officer and a daughter who turned into a prostitute. Wow. Very bizarre, because it was very strict, both sides. Very strict Christian, very strict cop. My mum was mollycoddle, micromanaging type of mother. Yeah. I don't blame anybody. I think blame's not even the right word. I don't even like that word. I take responsibility. I hold them responsible for the facets of parenthood that they didn't take part in. And I also appreciate the parts that they did. And I hold myself completely responsible for what happened to me and the actions that I took. I was still a grown woman, albeit 19. I was still aware enough to make those choices on my own. Yeah.
Sorry, how old did you say you were again?
How old am I now? Yeah. I'm 24.
So when did you come out of that lifestyle? Because you got in there around 1920, you said, yeah? So how many years were you in that lifestyle, and when did you come out?
Not long. So I came out it was literally the beginning of the lockdown.
Okay.
So 2020? That's when lockdown began, right?
21, I think it was 2021, I think it was. No, it's 2020, you're right. 2020, 2021.
No, 2020. We lost 2021.
Yes, sorry, you're right. Yeah, it was 2020, yeah. It was, hold on, I've actually lost track. All I know is around 2020 or 2021 that it all started happening.
Oh, now I'm confused.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Because I started recovering from trauma in 2019.
Okay, so that means.
Oh no, I don't know time frame.
Listen.
Anyway, it was literally only like a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
Because obviously I'm 24 now. It's not been that.
Yeah. So what made you think? Okay, I need to come out this lifestyle.
It's a great story. I mean, for multiple reasons. One, I was really, really unwell, like really unhealthy. So it got to a point where I started doing this escorting when I was a uni student, right? I was doing it in my uni accommodation, in hotels, going to like swingers events and things like that. So it was all like not much of my personal responsibility. And then when it actually became my full-time job, when I didn't finish my degree, when I quit my actual job, I went and got an apartment in central London, and then I really had to do the work because I had to pay for that apartment, and it was like £1,500 a month without bills. Yeah, so then I really had to think, how am I actually going to make money here? And in order to make the money to pay for that apartment, I had to really push myself, and I got really ill. I had like conjunctivitis, I had tonsillitis, pelvic inflammatory disease. I had copper poisoning because I had this coil in so I could get pregnant, because I did do some bareback appointments, which not proud of, but here we are. Thank God I'm still healthy.
Yeah.
And there was a time period when I went and worked in brothels, and I went to a brothel in Bradford, and I got really mistreated by the pimps. And I remember coming back from that brothel and just coming into my apartment and just being like, wow, I hate my life. I hate my life.
What you know those bareback appointments? Were you scared? Like, like with those, how does it work? Do they have to prove that they don't have something, or are you just risking it?
I mean, I've blacked out a lot of it. I think I've genuinely risked it.
Wow.
Yeah. Or they would pay me extra money. And actually now looking back, 30 quid, 50 quid, 120 quid, whatever my rate was for bareback in that moment, isn't worth the chance of getting HIV.
Those men that even wanted to do it, they're nuts. Like,
right. That's crazy. You got to think, that's one man to me, but how many men am I sleeping with for them to come and do? I don't know. It's because I never showed. I mean, they had my word. I had to be tested a lot. That's all they had was my word.
Yeah. And all you had was their word as well. So both of you were literally just risking it, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Gamble.
Wow.
Really, actually gambling with life.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Yeah. Boy, I don't know. Are you religious at all?
No, I'm very spiritual. Which is actually how I ended up leaving the industry, because I met a man in a brothel who had these like gorgeous tattoos all over him, and in the middle of an appointment, I was just looking at this man and I was like, wow, what a beautiful man. Really bizarre. Like, this is in Bethnal Green, by the way. I was like, oh, you are one of a kind. And I looked at his tattoos. I was like, I just got to know, what are your tattoos? And he was like, oh, it's Mother Ayahuasca, or how I perceive her to be. Wow. And I went, oh my God, that's the shit that's going to save my life. I was like, that's literally what I've been researching. That's going to cure my addiction. It's going to help me. And he put me in touch with the Shamans. And when I came back to my apartment that day and went, I hate my life, I literally booked a train and went straight on a retreat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was the retreat in South America, or was it in the UK?
I cannot disclose that.
Okay. Because I know a few people that have done ayahuasca, and it's either they've had a shaman who comes to visit, because obviously it's a bit low key, or they go to South America. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but one thing I know about ayahuasca, it really, really can help you tune into yourself and kill a lot of insecurity, a lot of traumatic experiences. So it sounds like that really saved you.
I owe my life to that medicine.
Wow. But yeah, please carry on. So please. Please.
Yeah, so I went on this retreat, and I sat with by the way, I'd never sat with any psychedelics in my life before that day. I mean, so I really went from 0 to 100, because ayahuasca is one of the strongest psychedelics in the world. So, and I just was so surrendered and humbled. You know, there comes a point with addiction and living at rock bottom where you either surrender and you say, I need to change my life and get better, or your life will surrender you. And I was completely surrendered. My body had just said, she'd just given up. I was so depressed. And I just was like, I don't know, but just help me out. And it was so amazing. It was so hard. But actually what happened was I saw a wall of men's faces in picture frames. Face after face after face after face. And you can speak to the medicine when you're in the journey. And I asked the medicine, I was like, what is this? And she said, these are all your soul bonds. So these are all the men that I'm carrying with me from having intercourse. You take part of someone's soul and they take part of your soul. So I'm carrying all the souls of all these hundreds of men. And I just looked at that on a wall and I just went, oh my God, I'm never doing this. I quit. I quit right now. In this moment, I quit. And I literally quit that day. I woke up the next morning. I said, I'm never doing this. Don't know what I'm going to do with my life because I've got an apartment to pay for. This is my only job. Didn't finish my degree. But I just made that commitment to myself. I said, I'm going to stop coke, weed, and I'm going to come off all the versions of adult work. Because I was also dominatrix. So wow. I paid like thousands of pounds to train as dominatrix. And I just went, I quit all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I did. And I just did it. Fucking weird. And like in a few... Sorry, do you mind if I swear?
You can swear if you want. It's all gravy.
Okay. So yeah, I literally, within 2 weeks, I'd given up my apartment, got it back on the market and off the market, packed, like moved out, come off all of adult work, had to find a new income stream. Yeah, it was a lot.
So this man that you met, was that it? He just hooked you up with a shaman, that was it? Like you didn't try and keep in touch with him or anything like that?
No, well, he actually came on that retreat.
Seriously, he came with you?
He was already going.
Okay, so you just hopped on the retreat with him?
Yeah, I went a bit earlier because I had to go meet the shamans. They kind of knew my story. Shamanic practitioners, and just want to clarify, like you can't just, not anybody can be a shaman. You can't just call somebody a shaman. So they were shamanic practitioners. And I went a few days early so that I would stop having sex and stop smoking weed. Like before we actually start with the medicine, you've got to be a clear channel to meet the medicine. So the medicine can meet you purely. And he rocked up. He was there to heal his escorting addiction. So he was addicted to hiring escorts.
Oh, I see.
And I was one of the escorts that he hired. And it was a beautiful healing for both of us, actually, in that space. Yeah, we kept in touch for a while, actually. I've not heard from him in a while. But he's a really nice man. Troubled, as we all are. But I really appreciate him, and him in conjunction with the practitioners, and just my willingness to surrender really changed my life.
Be honest to me here. You trying to tell me as soon as you came back from this retreat, you quit, full stop, right there and then?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I've never slept with anybody for money ever again.
Did you feel
I never smoked weed ever again.
Jeez, you know, that is, you know, some people can say they quit maybe one addiction, but to quit all those like things, like one, a stream of income, two, you know, smoking weed, and I don't know.
My belief systems, you know, that my belief was my body is my commodity. And I thought I was called Jasmine, by the way. I really had like come into this whole new personality. I was living in an alter ego. I had no interest in music anymore. I had no interest in food. I had no interest in personal relationships. I didn't know who I was, what I was interested in. All I cared about was having sex, not for fun, for money, making money. This was literally my priorities were so flat. And getting high. That was it. All my priorities there. Easy peasy. But so unfulfilling. Such an unfulfilling life.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that is so interesting. So at the moment, what you're doing now is you're helping young women who can go down your old lifestyle. How are you doing that? How do you find these women? Do you go to the brothels and speak to them? Do they come to you? How does it work?
Oh, I would love to go to brothels and speak to girls, but I don't want to put myself in that energy field, because as soon as you're in that energy field, you start to attract all those kinds of people again.
Yeah.
Which I have noticed. So actually the way that I've done it is I just put myself out on the internet. I started a blog And I started Instagram, and TikTok was like a year later. But I just built up this profile, and I think at the time I was one of the only outed escorts online anyway, or at least on TikTok. So when I started up my TikTok talking about sexual trauma, sexual healing, what it's like to be in a brothel, what it's actually like to work with pimps and have sex with hundreds of people, and the trauma that it actually causes to your body, people were then drawn to me. My account just blew up really quickly. And from there, then people would then come through for private coaching online. I never had a physical space because I've been nomadic since I left. Since I quit everything, I've just been trying to figure it out. So this is the first time where I've actually got a space where I can host people in person.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Very, very sorry about that. The video call was cut short, but we're back on again. So Maeve, please, if you can continue, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, so I've not been back to a brothel or into any kind of sexual BDSM landscape since then. I do still have an interest in BDSM. I do still want to continue doing some dominatrix work, but not right now. I'm still figuring out who I am after leaving, and unwiring all this conditioning that I've really, really taken on during that time period. I've got a partner who's man. I never thought that would be a possibility. I thought that I was 100% gay afterwards. So
what, you thought you were gay?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say you thought maybe like men wouldn't want you because of your past. I thought that's what you were gonna say.
I think a lot of men think that men wouldn't want me to my past, but it turns out it doesn't really bother that many men. Or men that aren't judgmental, or men that try to hold space and understand like what I was going through, doesn't bother them. That's what my partner's like. Then he's absolutely lovely. So yes, hopefully in this new space, I'll be able to offer multiple kinds of healing. So as well as offering, sexual trauma advice or healing work verbally, not just online. I'll also be able to do body work on women. So yes, it's a really hopeful space, and it's been a period of time trying to set this up.
What is body work?
So massage or de-armoring, because we build up armor on our bodies when we have a trauma collected in a certain area.
Okay, in a spiritual sense, the armor.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite interesting. I've never really heard of this kind of stuff. That's quite interesting. You mentioned earlier that you worked in a brothel and you felt like the pimp was a bit too, I don't know, you weren't really feeling his energy. I found that a bit interesting because in that case, did he recruit you or did you go to the brothel? Like, how does it work? Like, do you go to the brothel and say, hey, I want to rent out a room or something? How does it work? How does the pimping work? Like, I don't get it.
Okay, so pimping and brothels in the UK work completely differently to places like Geneva and America. Obviously, in some places it's illegal in America, and other places it's completely legal. So brothel here is illegal, and any establishment that is kind of, so let's say that I'm working in this room as an escort, that's legal in the UK. But if you come and work in this room also as an escort, it classifies as a brothel.
Okay, so if you have a solo room where you're making your money from that industry it's legal. But if you have other people in that establishment, obviously it's now becoming a company.
Yeah.
I see.
And isn't that great? That's just set up so that women are completely in danger.
Yeah.
But however, that's how it is. And so pimps in the UK are they're really up on one because we don't really have much of a choice.
Yes.
You can't say anything about it. There's nothing legal around it at all. So a lot of pimps in the UK and a lot of brothels are just flats or houses, and they're unsuspecting. And the way that I found my brothels, and I just want to put a little disclaimer on here for anybody who listens to this information and thinks, I'm going to do that, don't do this. Do not do this. I'm not advising you do this. And I don't want you to go and check out these websites. But there is a website that I don't think I'm even going to give you the name. It's called Red something. And you can go on there and you can pimps advertise their apartments.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so pimps in Geneva and Sweden and places like that also advertise on this website. So I could hook up with a brothel in Sweden and fly out.
Seriously?
Yeah. So that's how I did it. And I came across, my first brothel was, it was just like an advertisement for a small apartment, and the pimp was really nice actually, but it was fine. I made 60% of my income. I had to give him 40% for my room and stuff like that. But the second pimp, their advertisement was make 15 grand in a month. And I thought, oh, well, I've got this stupid apartment to pay for. I'd love to make 15 grand in a month. So I actually had a FaceTime interview with the pimp. And then I got on a train and went up to Bradford and got to know them and moved into the apartment with the other girl who was Romanian. And what I realised actually in these brothels is that I'm the only English girl. Interesting. I'm the only English girl, and because of that, I can do all my own marketing. I can charge way more.
Yeah.
Because I can speak English. And there's something about that makes you can charge. I can charge double what a Polish girl charges. But even if she's English, even if she can speak English. Yeah. Right? So I realised that these girls are being used or potentially trafficked. That Romanian girl is definitely being trafficked. And the pimp didn't like that I had I knew what was going on.
You were clued up. Yeah, you might influence a rebellion.
Yeah, and me and her got really close. We were like kind of speaking back and forth in Italian and Romanian, and she taught me bits, and it was fine. I realised that he could have sex with her whenever he wanted as her pimp, and he wanted to have sex with me whenever he wanted as my pimp. And I went, no, if you want to have sex with me, you got to pay for it like everybody else. And he really didn't like that, and it went down the pot. He stopped giving me clients and ended up kicking me out about 2:00 in the morning. I was in like some warehouse with a client. Thankfully, the client was really nice and looked after me.
Yeah.
But he had a wife, couldn't take me home. I was just kind of stuck with him in his weird warehouse. I ended up probably shutting down that brothel, to be honest, because I made such a racket outside of the building. Because he wouldn't let me back in, he wouldn't let me get my money, he wouldn't let me get my passport or my stuff.
Jeez.
He just locked me out, and so would she.
Wow.
So I kicked up a stink, and somebody called the police and said there's a woman outside making a lot of noise, and the brothel got shut down.
If I can't make money, nobody can make money.
Should have given me my money. I wasn't asking for a lot.
Oh man,
I earned it.
Wow, it sounds very interesting. And the thing is, the reason why this story really intrigues me is because I look at your situation, and your situation in comparison to most people's like depiction of a similar, path. There's a lot darker. Like in all honesty, you're kind of one of the lucky ones when you think about it. You mentioned some of them are being trafficked. Think about those people, like they don't have any like options. They don't have any other opportunities. Like that's it. To some of them, that's the greatest opportunity they've ever got. They're happy. Even if the guy can say I want to sleep with you whenever I want to sleep with you, they're thinking, hey, as long as I can get some money and at least, not be in the village I'm from or be in the small town that I'm from, And I remember I saw a documentary. I think it was on Netflix or one of the websites that I watched documentaries on, and it was about a girl who got into it because she was trying to escape her abusive father who was sexually abusing her. So she had no choice but to do that because she knew she went back to her hometown. Her dad and his mates were just gonna continue doing what they were doing.
Yeah,
it's insane, man. It's insane.
Yeah, a lot of people. It's hard for a lot of people. A lot of people go down. Have you ever seen anything by Soft White Underbelly?
Yeah, I haven't. I can't say I've watched a full episode. I've watched like a couple here and there flying around on social media, but I haven't watched a full episode. But I know he's the people he interviews. Some of their stories are just whoa, just dark. And the thing is, you are so lucky because I saw one next thing on YouTube, and it was a very famous. I think she was a Latino woman. but she was based in America, New York, and she was a very famous video vixen in the hip hop music videos in the late 90s and the early 2000s. But on the side, she used to be an escort. And one time someone said to her, one of her mates said to her, oh, look, there's this guy, he's rich, and I think he was from Russia or something like that. And let's go to his house, he'll give you loads of money. When they went there, they got her hooked on heroin. You know, they held her down and injected heroin into her, and they used her sexually for so long that she didn't know how many years she was being used, and you know what country she was in most of the time. They're just flying her around because she was a stunning woman. She's a stunning woman. I'm sure they must have used the hip hop video she was in as an example of, look, this is the girl that we've got. You better give us this amount of money. And they found her recently, after she was used and abused, they found her recently in New York, homeless, and she's got schizophrenia and she's hooked on heroin now. You know, just one night where she thought, I can make this kind of money. Yeah. Just the kind of client that she had. So you're very, very lucky.
That point that you just made, somebody is going to watch this podcast with morbid fascination, and morbid fascination leaning on intrigue. People are really intrigued. Can I make that amount of money? Dudes, as well as women. And for you to make that point, I just want to reiterate it and drive it home. Like, that's really how serious it can be. You're really putting your life on the line.
That desire for money and that desire to, you know, please a sexual urge it's something that people need to work on, you know, seriously. Because the path that it takes people down is unbelievable. Like people who've lost their, you know, destroyed their marriages, lost their children because their children don't want to talk to them because they hurt mummy or something like that. I'm sure there must be a lot of those kind of stories. I'm sure you must have broke up a lot of happy homes. I'm sure there's a lot of men who got caught because they wanted to come and knock on your door.
I did know that I was sleeping with married men, and you know, looking on it now, like, bad. I feel bad about it. But at the time, I didn't care. Yeah. My moral compass was literally like skew whiffy. I had no moral compass. I suppose that's where growth. Yeah. That's growth, isn't it? That's growing up and actually holding yourself accountable for the things that you do.
Yeah. Also, I think sometimes when you distance yourself from an environment that's so normal to you, you can get a different perspective, and you start seeing, like you said, at the time your moral compass was more, okay, look, I need my money to pay my rent, I need my money to make my money. Obviously there might have been aspects of it where you probably had even given up on yourself as a human being and just thought, look, this is my lifestyle, I'm gonna, you know, do what I have to do and block out any kind of morality. But you look back now and you see all these useless men that even today, even if they offered you like £1 billion, you know they're not worth you. Do you know what I mean? Because essentially, I think what a lot of women don't realize is, the most valuable commodity on this planet, one of the things that's in the top 3 is women. Do you know what I mean? And the reason why I say it from a religious perspective, a spiritual perspective, and just like a physical and emotional perspective. Because when you think about it, us men, if we didn't have to like impress women, if we didn't have to like get married, if we didn't have to have partners, we wouldn't give 2 damns about Mercedes Benzes, BMWs, haircuts, fragrances, nice suits, jewelry, cars. We wouldn't care about these things. Let's be honest, we wouldn't care, because even if other men saw you in it, you wouldn't really care what other men think, because you'd be too busy trying to just, you know, put food on the table and do the basic things that we used to do back in the days. We're trying to kill saber-toothed tigers and, do you know what I mean? Like, survive. We didn't give a damn about how long and nasty our beards used to look in depictions of us from those days. We just cared about the basic necessities, right? Then obviously, you know, the Industrial Revolution kicks in. Now everyone can get a bit of money in their pocket. Now everyone's got to be working in the field now. You got time to beautify yourself. Women start paying attention, think, oh, he's beautifying himself with some nice shoes. Those shoes look expensive. Now you get caught down the rabbit hole. You're like, I'm going to get more expensive shoes, loads of fragrances and da-da-da-da-da. Other men look at you and think, hold on, he's getting a lot of attention from women. I need to be like him. Do you know what I mean? Now we're in that era now where that's all we're doing now. That shows the power that women have to make men literally change their perception of reality in order to please and suit them, right? And I think a lot of women forget that. So when they see men giving them attention, they think, okay, how can I get more of that? But what they don't realize is you don't need to work on how to get the man's attention. Just you being a female alone is going to make that man give you attention. And I think what you're doing now with these females, where you're making them see their self-worth and making them understanding that, they can realize that if a man wants you, he won't need to pay for you. Like, he'll just be with you. And that's a good man, because most of the men who are paying to be with you sexually, like you said, they've got wives, they've got partners. They're scumbags. They don't give a damn about anybody. They're actually being deceitful to these people. They're being so deceitful to these women who they call their wives, their girlfriends, or whatever partnership that they have. They're being so deceitful to these people. So to you, if they can be deceitful to them, who are you to them? Like, you know what I mean? They could tell you, yeah, I ain't got AIDS, and they got it. They could do that if they wanted to, because they're actually scumbags. Do you know what I mean? So when these women that you're helping realize, hold on, I'm a lot more loyal, I'm a lot more honest. Why am I hanging around these people that don't have any of those qualities? Why am I hanging around with these people? Why? Because the only thing we have in common is I want this. That's it. Mm-hmm. And then the only thing that person has in common with you is that they want to give it to you and you want it. So it's literally all about that, money. That's all it's about. And
it's not a fair exchange at all.
Not at all.
At all. And as you know, there's the boom throughout lockdown where people are like joining OnlyFans and making like dollar from OnlyFans, and people be coming to be like, what's your opinion on OnlyFans? It's like, what are you giving away? Really? Let's really look at this. Right, hold on. The technicalities of this are either you enjoy it or you don't, but you're forcing potentially plastic objects inside of your yoni repeatedly, over and over and over and over again. You're putting on this performance. You're giving your time. You're talking to these people, and the more you engage, like what what you put your energy into, you're going to have reflected back. You're going to attract more of that shit. So you're talking to these kind of waste of space people that give you what? What was the subscription price for an OnlyFans girl? $9.99 a month.
Wow.
£10 a month, and they have access to your entire internal world.
I know.
And I mean literally physically internal and emotionally, because you're driving your attention into pleasing. Well, 10 quid a month? At least I was charging money by the hour, like at least I was making some money.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to give you my opinion when it comes to that. Yeah. See me, I'm religious, right? And but at the same time, I understand spirituality because I'm a learned person. I like to know what's going on in the world. So I'm gonna break it down from a religious and a spiritual perspective. Mm-hmm. From a spiritual perspective, it's called negative energy, but from a religious perspective, it's called the devil. I genuinely believe the only way the devil can fool God's children, or to block your energy and block your self-worth, is to give you something which is of no value whatsoever, but place value on that something. So you think there's value on it. So for instance, if you look at diamonds, all they are fucking crystals from the ground. That's what they are. But someone said, no, that one is different from those other crystals because this one is compressed a lot different by earth. So we're going to make that worth something. So there are people out there who will do a diamond heist and die for fucking crystals from the ground because they were going to get a bit of paper in exchange for that shit from the ground. And that paper came from trees. It came from trees. But because it's processed in a certain way and they stick a bunch of ink on it with the Queen's face or the President's face on it, they think, yeah, that's worth something. Because someone's going to take it in exchange for them to take a car. And that car is made out of metal bashed together to make a beautiful shape. Everything is actually an illusion. It's all an illusion. But because we live in a world where I personally believe the devil has made us need these things in order to eat, have a healthy lifestyle or an attractive lifestyle, we believe that is an actual kind of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? We believe it's actual reality. But it actually isn't. It's a fake reality we've created for each other. And this is the reason why you will find people going and doing certain things like the path that you've been down, where you think, I need this and I need that. But when you actually think about it, all those things were not even worth even just a drop of the blood that runs through your vein. We don't see our self-worth. We put a lot of worth into objects that we create from trees and metal and wood and, just these frivolous things.
Yeah.
They're frivolous things. And don't get it twisted. I love to beautify myself, but I always know I come before it. And that's all it's about. I personally reckon the devil doesn't want us to come before anything. He wants everything to come before us. And those things are nothing. They're absolutely
And what
nothing.
do you think if you stopped investing, if people or you or people or whoever stopped investing time in money and attention and energy into acquiring a Bugatti or a freaking timepiece on your wrist? I'm stuck on the wall there. Why do I need like one that's 20 grand here? I don't know why we need to do that. If we stopped doing that, what is your opinion on the thing that we would then be focusing on? If all of that was cleared out of our vision, like the rose-tinted goggles just came off, what do you think we'd be seeing?
I think, all right, if you look at the things that we're no longer seeing now that we focus on that, I think that's what we focused on. So for instance, your relationship with your father, he would have focused a lot more on that. You know, he had things that he was chasing that was blocking him from his responsibility as a father. So we'll focus more on our parenting. We'll focus more on the education and skill sets that we give to our children. We'll focus on good friendships. We wouldn't have friendships where it's like, oh, you drive a nice car, so I want to be seen with you. Certain people who are both working, mom and dad both working, the child's being left with this person, that person. There'll be less of that molestation going on where that child is in the hands of a bloody predator because you're too busy trying to chase frivolous things. I think we'd focus more, and also would focus more on the kind of mindsets we want our children to have, we want ourselves to have. Because I've noticed, like you said something earlier where you're like, you lost all moral compass. When you don't focus on something, it's so easy to lose who you are. And I think the devil's given us too many distractions. You know, when I was young, I remember I read something about, I think it was Caesar. I don't know which emperor it was of the Roman Empire, but he said, give them bread and circuses. Have you heard of that? Bread and circuses?
Bread and
circuses, like a circus with a clown.
Circuses?
Yeah, bread and
really?
circuses.
Oh, no, I've not heard that. Okay.
So what that means is, they wanted to pass certain lobbies and pass certain laws, but the people at the time were quite intelligent. So they're like, no, we're not going to vote for that. We're not going to vote for that. So he said, okay, look, give them entertainment. Give them entertainment, and I guarantee you they will let us pass all these laws. They won't give a damn. So they built the Roman Colosseum, and they gave them gladiators, lions eating Christians. They gave them all kinds of entertainment, and they were loving the blood sport so much. Plus, they were giving them free bread. So they were being full. Their bellies were full, and their eyes and their endorphins were all entertained. And all the laws were passed, and they did not see the government just took over their entire life. And so this is some of the tactics that I believe the negative energy or the devil, whichever perspective you want to see it from, uses. Now, don't get it twisted. As human beings, we do love that stuff. That I'm not saying we should just live like bloody, you know, monks and not acquire some kind of wealth or some kind of like, you know, beautification from materialism. Materialism is real, like you said, to an extent. But when there's those people who would like murder for it, kill for it, give away their lifestyles for it, give away their bodies for it, that's when it gets a bit dangerous. But you know, I have to ask you a question. Were you honest with your partner? When you met your partner that you're with now, were you honest? By the way, your partner, he or she?
He.
Oh, thank God. I didn't want to assume it was a he these days. Do you know what I mean? But were you honest with him from day one? Did you let him know, look, this is my past, this is what I did? Or did you take a while?
No, straight away. The thing is that my dirty laundry is on the internet.
Okay.
So I met him at a retreat.
That's mad interesting, man. Were you scared? Like, because you know, ayahuasca, I've heard so many people I know who've tried it said at first they were like petrified. Were you petrified, or because you felt like, look, I'm at rock bottom and I just want to fucking fix my shit? Did you just go into it like dive in face first, or did you like, were you a bit hesitant or scared at first?
I wasn't scared. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. Now I've sat with ayahuasca, God, I don't know how many times in the past 2 years, and mescaline, San Pedro, Cambo, mushrooms, all of these medicines I've sat with. I'm more scared now than I was back then. Okay. But I didn't know what was coming. Now I know what's coming.
Yeah. So now you know what's coming. Yeah. Each time you do it, do you feel like, oh gosh, we're going there again?
You know where you're going? You're going into your subconscious mind. And it's uncomfortable in there. It's uncomfortable. And you're also going off and you're meeting other dimensional beings. And it's a shock to your reality because we are told these things aren't really real. But it's really actually interesting that a lot of people who go into the DMT landscape experience the same things. And that kind of tells us that that's a landscape, a dimension that we can all access and go into. I think they're actually trying to map the DMT landscape at the moment.
How is that
possible? So
possible?
they're putting people, they're like doing it medically, like they'll put people on a drip and keep them in that heightened, when they reach the peak of the DMT trip, not in ayahuasca, the other kind of DMT.
Yes.
And they'll keep them there and they'll keep them there, and they're doing studies so people can actually explore, and they're starting to map that world out.
But do you think that
world world's amazing?
Does that world have a map? Because that world, isn't it a reality for each individual?
Well, that's what we all thought. But the fact that so many people go to the DMT realms and experience the same things kind of tells us that maybe it's just another dimension that we are able to access the same dimension, rather than it's just a subjective experience of my subconscious mind. You know, I've gone into other people's subconscious minds when I've been in those journeys and seen what they're going through, and then woken up in like 8 hours and gone, I was there with you. And they were like, oh yeah, I knew you were there. And because your soul goes.
If this is successful soon, going to the DMT world would be like going on a holiday. You can just go there and know your way around soon. It sounds like a trippy thing, but that's what it sounds like. Soon you'll be like, yeah, I just went there for quick 2 hours. Yeah, I'm back now. It's funny, I had a manager back in the days. I had a manager who was very strict, and me and this guy could not get along. And then one day we just started talking about psychedelics. I don't know how it came about. We started talking about psychedelics, and then he was like, oh, yeah, I'm a shaman. I was like, what? You never would have seen it. This guy was strict as hell. Like proper strict. Like you never think he's someone that even would have even tried psychedelics. It was a weird one. And he was like, yeah, his mum was a shaman. That's what he trained to be because of his mum. And he does the retreats as well and everything like that. And I was like, whoa, this is some secret underground world going on over here, man.
Yeah, well, we've got this like weird image that shamans are all either Native American people or white people that are culturally appropriating Native American culture and walking around with like headdresses on
barefoot,
and, you know, robes and stuff, and going, I'm a shaman. And people are like undercover about it because it's more of it's a ritual, it's a practice.
Yeah.
It's not a show. It's not an outfit. Being shaman, it's not an outfit. So, yeah, they're sometimes really unsuspecting people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yo, listen, it's been a very interesting conversation, but I would love to end it, but I want to end it on a note. Where can people come? These women or these men who are going down the path that you've been and you want to help them, where can they go to receive the kind of help? But before you say so, what kind of help are you offering them, please? It
depends what kind of help they need. And somebody who's been in sex work is probably going to need, and when I'm talking about physical sex work, you are probably going to also need a therapist if you come out of online sex work, but it's different because your body's not been interfered with by another, even if you've interfered with your own body. So probably de-armoring, like I said earlier, there's people that do specific de-armoring, energy healing, trauma-informed massage, Ayurvedic massage, and really focused therapy, psychotherapy, coaching. And something that I think is so important is inner child work, because the beliefs that led you to do all of this stuff, that's where they meet, right? You did all this stuff. Why? You had a belief that it was okay. You needed to. You weren't worth anything. Maybe you've even had like a religious doctrine and you thought that, like the FLDS, like people in there generally thought they had to give their body to receive God, right?
What's that? What's the FLDS? What's that?
The FLDS, the S something of the Latter-day Saints.
Was it some kind of, were they some kind of religious sect?
Yeah, it's a religious group.
Okay.
And they feel like they have to give their body to men in order to, older men, in order to receive God. So it could be any reason, but it's the inner child work that's going to help you unpack in the day, right? In the present moment. Why do I have that belief? Is it true? Go back and meet yourself. Go back and hold that little girl. Go back and hold that little boy. Talk to them. Go and remove them from that island that you left them on when you were 9, when your uncle touched you in this inappropriate area, you know, that kind of stuff. So what I'm offering is, yes, also inner child work, guided meditative work, energy healing. I offer psychotherapeutic coaching. I'm trained in process-oriented psychotherapy, which is movement therapy. So it's getting into the body. So if your arm's constantly doing this all the time, it's why? Why are you constantly touching your head and that part of your brain? Like, why? Let's go into the arm and find out what the story is there and then talk about it. Maybe it's an ache or a pain. And I do also recommend massage and body work. And that can be craniosacral therapy, that can be traditional massage, any kind of massage, because you want to relearn touch, real, intimate, sensitive, intentional touch, not selling yourself, not selling your body out for the pleasure of others. You want to be receiving of pleasure. Yeah, and just undoing those paradigms. So that's what I do here at the Soul Suite. I'll send you my link, I'll send you my email and my Instagram handle, my TikTok handle. I share a lot of information. And yeah, we also offer those treatments. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
I'll have that all in the description, and I'll have some of it across the screen as well. You know, so yeah, listen.
Amazing.
Maeve, it's been a very interesting conversation, and I don't want it to be the last. I would love to have you on the podcast again. There's certain people I meet and I know I want to have another conversation with them, and you're definitely one of them, because it's been a very beautiful and insightful conversation. And I love this. Thank you. No problem. I'm so proud of you for turning your life around, and I'm so proud of you for seeing your self-worth, and I'm so proud of you for connecting to a higher force. Do you know what I mean? Because I
really appreciate that. Thank you.
Certain people are walking around blindly, and you got your blinkers on, man. Do you know what I mean? So from my perspective, being a religious man, I want to say God bless you, and I want to say thank you very much for coming to the Drazzy Show. And Maeve, have a lovely day. Guys.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day yourself.
Thank you so much, guys. The Drazzy Show. Peace.
The Drazzy Show.